Okay, so one of the things that automation and Make.com is actually really good at these days is document intelligence. Now, that's a fancy word for saying basically reading PDFs and documents and extracting information from an unstructured form, which is the document itself, into a structured form so it could be used elsewhere, basically. So in this case, what I built here is an expense processing bot. Now, one of the things in business that's often quite common is in, say, an accounts payable process is people and staff have expenses and they need to prove those expenses to the accounts department in order to get reimbursed. So basically what we're doing here is using Telegram as a front end. Basically what we'll do is we'll paste a document such as this one into this particular chat. So say a person has an expense, they get a receipt and they can paste it, a photo of it or an image of it into this chat. That's basically the front end. Comes into this automation, goes along here. This Make AI content extractor will pull out the information from that document, put it into anything you like. In this case, I've just used Google Sheets as an example, and send an email. I'd say to your financial controller and say, "Hey, I've got this information." The other thing it can do is chat with the staff member and just that's what this AI agent does. And in the case they don't quite understand what to do, well, let's activate this scenario and we'll have a bit of a look at it in process. So we'll go back to Telegram down here and we'll upload. In fact, why don't we just have a little chat to it? So let me just try that first. How do I send my expenses? You see in the past this chat, I've done this quite a few times. Let's have a look. So here you can see it's actually acting as we go. It's thinking about what to say. Here we go, and it's given us an answer. Hey, you can send your expenses by uploading them as an attachment into this chat. So why don't we try that just as a little example? Let's upload a document. Now, I did have one handy. Where was it? That one there. Okay, so I'm going to upload this document. Now, this is perhaps not a complete example because this is a really well-written PDF, and you'll find that Makes kind of image document intelligence can quite easily read this one. This is just an Australian receipt for I bought myself a skipping rope. Anyway, that's irrelevant. Let's upload that into the chat. Let's just see if we can drag it in. Yep, we can. Let's send it as a PDF. What that'll do, if we go back here, it's detected that it's a message or a photo. Sorry, a photo or an image. Now it's trying to extract information. It'll put some information to Google Sheets and hopefully send us an email. So if we wait just a moment, hopefully we'll get an email pop through to us. I did send that to me, didn't I? Let's have a look. Emails are a little bit slow to come through on this computer anyway. Where did we send it to? Two recipients. Yeah, I've sent it to myself. So any moment an email will come through just with some structured information. Anyway, so let's just have a look and see if that email came through first. I'll just pause this while we wait for the email. It did come through, but it went to my junk email. I'm not sure why. I'll check out that later. But basically, I just said any expense over $5 gets sent through to an imaginary financial controller here as expense amount $7.59. Obviously, you can get a lot more complicated than that in your workflow, but that's just a demonstration of what is possible. Okay, so let's look at the steps in a bit of detail. So Telegram, I'm not going to cover Telegram too much just because that's not the point of this particular video. There is some complexity around creating a Telegram bot. You've got to use a thing called BotFather, which is gets a bit technical, but basically you're just sending API calls back and forth to Telegram. Now, okay, so let's just have a look in here and see if we can get some. I've created a bot called Ferg Expenses Bot. We won't go into that with too much detail. Basically, your message comes along here, goes to an if else. Now, what have I done here with if else? Let's have a look. If it's a message or a photo, which if it's any of these particular, if the file size of the photo or the attachment or the channel post being the document image or an attachment exists, then it goes through the top branch here. And we use this particular step to download the file. And now this is what I'm trying to teach you here is basically make our content extractor. Simply the recipient sources the file and it comes from the previous step being the Telegram bot download a file. This has the intelligence to basically get a whole lot of information. I'll show you the output here because you can see here you can potentially get country region. It's correctly picked it as being Australia, and it gives you a confidence interval, 99.5% likely that it's that. Line items, you can see all the information it gives you here. I'm not exactly sure what that is. So this is the line item being the skipping rope, and it's 97% confidence that is what it is. Merchant address, okay, it has the address of where I bought something. The important stuff, there's a number of different bits of information, but the important stuff, obviously, total, value currency, Australian dollars, $7.59. We're going down beyond the page here. There's a bunch of structured information that was previously unstructured on the document itself. Very, very useful to any accounts department. I've just saved it in a Google Sheets just for the sake of saving it. I won't show you the sheet, but you'll get the idea. Basically, it's just it's updating a row with a bunch of information. I've chosen to use, let's have a look at what I've chosen to use here. The merchant name, the transaction date, and the total. Now, this is where Telegram will have received a response. Okay, thank you, your expenses have been received. Now that's hard-coded in here. I've just put the text, thank you, your expenses have been received, into the chat ID, which comes from this particular Telegram node. And we send an email across to my email being Sam, that's my email address. And for expenses over $5, expense amount is X. And we saw that in the example we saw before. Here we've got a filter. The amount has to be greater than 5.0 for it to be sent through. That kind of imitates, I don't know, maybe sending an extra email to someone who needs to approve a particular expense. Okay, so now get a bit more technical with the AI agents. Okay, so I've used this simple GPT-5 Nano that seems to be working okay in this case. We have connected to OpenAI. Scroll down. Okay, so the instructions now, I've kept this really, really simple. You could get a lot more complicated than this with your agent. You are an agent specialized in dealing with simple customer service for an expenses processing service. If you get a message, you should request that the user upload their expenses to the chat or as a PDF or image. Only attachments are accepted. Now, that kind of explains the previous message we got when we asked, how do I upload the expenses? The input message is the text message we got from step one. From the Telegram bot, and the conversation chat ID, we put in the conversation ID. So that's pretty simple. And here we'll send a reply, being the response from the AI agents. Now that all works together quite well. Let's have a little play here. Let's just try, did I do that correctly? I'm not sure what we'll get here. Let's have a look. You can't see any attachments yet. So basically, it's kind of like a one-shot thing. It doesn't have a memory of what it did previously. We could build that in, but that's entirely up to you. We'll upload that expenses again. In fact, I won't show you that again. You've already seen it, but basically that's how it works. It's a pretty simple, but yet very powerful automation here. And it's kind of the structure that works well with AI agents in that basically you have a kind of like a processing layer at the top level, processing branch, I should say, at the top, and a chat branch at the bottom here. It's a very simple example that could be extended to be very, very useful. Anyway, that's it for me today.